When that car cut my dad and mom off, my grandfather looks over at me, he says, "Hand me my gun."
That's how we do it in the South.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars. I want to welcome all the new guys to the channel. You know, I want to share a funny story with you guys. And you got to think, working here at the RUC, you know, me, Kobe Kai, of course, you got Robert doing the rap stuff. Every day is like story time, and there's always so many funny stories between those two guys and just me in general, whatever. We're always just going around and around with stories. And we were eating lunch. Matter of fact, earlier today, everybody's gone for the day. Earlier today, we were eating lunch and just shooting the bull. And Robert, out of the blue, he goes, "What was the very first car show you ever went to?" And I thought about it for a second. And my very first car show was actually the 1991 Knoxville NSRA Nationals, or it was National South in Knoxville, Tennessee. They have it at the fairgrounds. They still have that show to this day. It was huge. You got to think about it. Back then, they had 5,000-6,000 cars there. And, it was a cool event. And that was actually where my grandfather bought his first collector car. And that was interesting. It was an orange 1940 Chevrolet two-door sedan, chop top. Looking back now, it was extremely outdated. But back then, we thought it was pretty cool. And but the car show was neat, but what I remember more than anything was the trip home. So my grandfather always drove Ford dualies. That was his thing. Keep in mind, race cars, pulling race car trailers. He always had a nice Ford dually. That was his thing. They were always decked out. Turbo wings, double stack running boards, Alcoa wheels, you name it. And we drove up there. So it was me, my grandfather, my mom, and my dad. We drove to the NSRA Nationals. And keep in mind, so in 91, I was 12 years old. And it was awesome. It was so neat. I was overwhelmed with all these cool cars. And this is back in the street rod days, and it was in full swing. And man, this was awesome. And we bought this car, it's like our first collector car, and I was so excited. So my mom and dad ended up driving that 40 Chevrolet home. And I rode with my grandfather in his dually. So here we are coming back, coming back to South Carolina. So 40, 26 to 25, running right into Greenville. And we barely got into South Carolina good on 25. And there was a guy just weaving through traffic in this old ratty-ass second-gen Camaro, like a 77 model. I vaguely remember the car. It was black, proper spots, looked like shit, whatever. And it was weaving in and out of traffic. And he cuts my dad off in that old car. Now, keep in mind, my grandfather just bought that car. I remember he paid like $18,000 for this car back then. Well, anyway, and my grandfather he was a weird character. He loved me to death. I did no wrong in his eyes. But he was a fighter. And when I say that, he would fight somebody to drop of a hat, even in his older age. Some people called him crazy. Matter of fact, that's what Robert was saying when I finished this up. When that car cut my dad and mom off in that 40 Chevrolet, my grandfather looks over at me, he says, "Hand me my gun." And my grandfather carried a .38 revolver everywhere he went. This thing was so pocket worn, but it was in the glove box of his truck. And I remember 12-year-old Rob handing my grandfather a gun. He's literally shooting, chasing this car going down the road, and I'm riding with my grandfather. That's the very first car show I ever went to. And of course, Robert's like, "Man, he's crazy." And I said, "Robert, you don't understand. That's not, and that is crazy. But you got to understand that mentality a little deeper. He's a fighter. You got to think, my grandfather never knew his dad. It was just him and his mom, my great-grandmother. And he had a rough childhood growing up. That's kind of back in the day when being a single parent was rough. And I'm not saying it's not now, but it was kind of a weird thing back then. And he didn't have a father figure, and he got himself into cars. You got to think about it. Rob, where do you get your love affair from cars? Well, if you read any bio about me, it says I'm a third generation hot rodder, which I am. Yeah, my grandfather was the first generation. He got himself into cars. He had that interest and that love affair, taught himself how to be a mechanic. And not be a mechanic like, work on a car in his garage at home. No, as in starting his own shop. I mean, this guy did everything. He fought every day, literally, to the day he died. And when you have that kind of fight, that kind of determination, sometimes it comes off a little crazy. Just like these guys will tell you with me. Sometimes when these cameras aren't rolling and things ain't going exactly right, old Rabbit will come off just crazy sometimes with some of the things I say. But I say it because I'm a fighter. I'm in business for myself. I literally have been responsible for my paycheck since I was 20 years old. So you've got to think, growing up in that mentality and like, well, how do you get like that? And I had another guy reach out to me recently in a message, his Instagram or Facebook or something. And he goes, I want to get started in the car business. And it just seems so hard. And I'll be honest with you, friendly advice, I don't think right now is the best time to get started in any new business. It's a little tricky right now with the economy and things like that, but to each their own. And hey, you got to hit the ground somewhere. But that being said, I said, man, anything you go to do is going to be hard. And if it was easy, hell, everybody'd be doing it. That's the thing. You got to be able to be willing to skip lunch. You got to be willing to be sweating your ass off in a building when it's 98 degrees outside. That's the thing. That's the fight. That's the hustle. And my grandfather had that. My dad had that. And I like to think it was a gift. And me and Kobe were talking about this. Kobe grew up on a farm in Florida. And, everybody in his family was builders and things like that, and talking about doing chores and working and doing things. And if you've ever worked for a family business before, you know exactly what I'm saying. They literally expect twice as much out of you for half of what they'd pay anybody else because you're family. And I used to hate it growing up. I just remember man, this isn't right. Man, it's so hot in this place, or it's this, or it's that. Now I appreciate that. I see things now way clearer than I ever did before because of that. And I see a lot of young guys making that mistake because as soon as they hit that little bump in the road, as soon as it gets a little hard, as soon as it gets a little tough, they're ready to throw their hands up. And that's in more things than just business. That's in every facet of life. If you just open your eyes and look around, it makes a lot of sense. But that's the thing. Sometimes they call it crazy, but if you look a little deeper, you'll see that enthusiasm, that heart. You see a man that busted his ass to get what he had, and he's seen somebody putting that in jeopardy. Now, chasing somebody with a gun, is that the right thing to do? No. But can you understand his logic a little bit? When you think about it, yeah, you can. And that's something that if I could at least plant that seed in anybody on this channel, is that, you can't be scared of hard work. I love to show up in my little collared shirt, my little shorts, and with my Rolex on and be that guy. Yeah, that guy's one part of Rabbit. The other Rabbit was the guy that was here earlier today in a t-shirt and a pair of camo shorts, with a hole in it, and was helping Odd Rod wrap this Jeep, or was washing cars, or was putting, new rollers on the back door back here. That's the thing you got to understand. When you're in business, you just don't plop down and play boss man. Yeah, that's just a small part of it. You got to be able to do the things that other people aren't willing to do to get where you want to be. That's the thing. When they're out having a good time at the lake, or they're out going, clubbing or going to the bar, you're working. You're saving your money. You don't want to go out because you've worked all day long out in the heat. That's the thing you got to understand. You got to put that time in now for it to succeed later. Just like a farmer planting a crop. They didn't plant the seed and turn around and it sprouts right up. No, they have to water it. They have to feed it. They have to keep going and going and going and going. And then they produce a product. Same way with business, and I'll be honest with you, pretty much everything in life works that same way when you think about it. If you want it to be successful, you got to put some of this in it, and you got to use that. And you can't be scared to put a little back in it too. End of the day. You know, I didn't want to come off preaching, but I really thought this was kind of a cool point, and I really want to share it with you guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching the channel. Be sure to check out our subscriber, Auto Bidmaster. And I'm gonna tell you something I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find me a little something cooler to drink than this. Guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars. What's going on, guys? You want a little trade secret on where to find the best used cars around and the best deal on them? AutoBidmaster.com. Over 300,000 listings nationwide. You can search by make, model, or location. I tell you what, your old buddy Rabbit's gonna sweeten the deal up for you. I've got a 40% off discount code off registration or a premium membership. That's right, Rabbits23. Punch that in, get your 40% off. Check out AutoBidmaster.com. You'll thank me later.